Hello and welcome. This is Leanna O'Brien, the CEO of the Soaring Scarves Academy, the place where teachers who believe that music is movement and movement is learning come to find some truly great resources for the elementary music classroom. And we're going to start right now with our 3 best stories to bring instruments into the music room. Because here's the thing. An elementary music room without instruments would just be ridiculous. Those things have to go together. However, if you don't have the right routines and expectations, and if you're not bringing these in with the right tools, then you're going to have some students that aren't exactly ready to be playing instruments in the elementary music room. And I think I can say that with some confidence that we have all been there, done that, where we've been teaching and realized that, oh, it's going to be that kind of class today. So what we're going to go over today is just how to set up those expectations, 3 of my favorite and really effective stories. We're going to go through a walkthrough of my absolute favorite. This is the nest that Robin built, and I'll give you the resources for the other ones. Alrighty, so just a reminder really quick, join our Facebook group. It's the Soaring Scarves Academy one. Can't miss it. I'll drop it in the link below. Alrighty, and I always kind of start one of these with just a quick philosophy. So my philosophy is that we should be the teacher who understands that movement is music, that movement is learning, and strive to teach students in the way that they were meant to learn. Let's get started. All right, so rules and expectations. They're 100% necessary when you're handing instruments out to students. However, you don't want it to take too long, or you'll actually end up creating more problems for yourself than if you just handed them out. That is not what I'm saying to do. But start simple and clear with your expectations. Mine are always the same, and they're always easy to repeat. All right, so make sure you're doing this in under 3 minutes. Make it clear, quick, easy to repeat. So things like do not play until I say, or I will take it away. Hold on, tight, tight, tight. Whatever you're going to do to mitigate the problems that you're probably in store for. All right, students playing when it's not their turn, right? Students not being gentle with the instruments, students playing when it's their neighbor's turn, things like that, where these problems are probably going to come, not because, oh, you have bad no, because they're kids, and because these kids are going to want to play with the awesome instruments that you are bringing into the classroom. So keep it under 3 minutes, make it quick, make it easy to repeat, and then give a ton of demonstrations. Pick a student who either you are enticing to be the leader or is already the leader, and say, all right, you're sitting so wonderfully. I always have my students either start with their hands in their lap, their hands on their desk, although I typically have students sitting crisscross on the floor at this time. So I might have my students actually sitting on their hands. And this one was actually very helpful, especially for grades kindergarten through 2nd grade, where if they're sitting on their hands, then you don't have the student who's like, oh, my hands are folded, but they're, touching the instrument with their finger like that. We all have it. All right. So sitting on their hands is actually one way to mitigate a lot of problems. It's simple, it's easy, it's quick, and this should be their go-to position. So maybe you say ready position, and your students know that means hands in their laps or sitting on their hands or whatever you're doing, so that your students are set up for success before you even hand the instruments out. So you practice ready position. You pick one student to demonstrate that ready position. You put the instrument down in front of that student, and then you praise them for the good job that they did. And you're making sure that every student is following this direction. Now, I say this, and I do expect to look around my classroom and see my students in the ready position, but then make sure to give them their fix, right? You just put down an instrument in front of them. You can't now go into a whole nother spiel where you're going to be talking a lot and they're not going to be playing that. That is when you're going to have the student who just, I need to touch this. It's a temptation. It's a temptation for any student. So give them their fix, but the way that you want. Go over some rhythm, go over some pitches, go over some effective movement, so that the small expectations that you just went over, they're now putting directly into effect. You're setting them up for success. Give them their fix. Alrighty, here are my favorite stories, because stories are really the way that students are going to learn their best. Yes, it's movement, but if you tell a student a fact, that they will forget it in a day. If you tell a student a story, they will remember it for their entire lives. So here are my 3 favorite stories that are perfect to bring effective instrument use into the elementary classroom. And we really only have time right now to go over one of them, but I have blogs and I have other YouTube links for each other one. I know I have it for Too Much Noise. I think I'm in the middle of making it for Bringing the Rain. So if you don't have Bringing the Rain yet in the link below, just know that it's coming. Alrighty, but check the link below. Right now we're going to go over, this is the nest that Robin built. This is a new one that I found and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Real quick, here's a brief run through of Too Much Noise. This book is fantastic to bring in because it has these repeatable phrases that make it so easy to just tell a student, all right, you are now the cow. The cow has this rhythm, and they know they're only going to be playing when it's the cow's turn. This lesson I also have on Teachers Pay Teachers, or you can get it by joining our monthly membership and you get a free month just for trying. All right, that's all our lessons, all our everything. Again, the link is down below, and it is something that I'm incredibly proud to offer as a full curriculum. It also comes with scarf dances, movement breaks, pre-recorded professional development like this, but also with Soaring Scarves certificates and all that kind of stuff. All right, let me get off my podium. All right, so it's also on Teachers Pay Teachers. I'll drop the link for that below as well. But right now, we're going to go over, this is the nest that Robin built. And it's not only, that's why I want to talk about this now, it's not only to bring instruments in the classroom, it's also to get your students composing. And to get them composing in a way that they're going to leave feeling like they did something, in a way that's not going to be overcomplicated, because I feel like that's the problem with a lot of these lessons that we bring in to have our students compose. It's so open-ended that for our new composers, our young learners, it's overwhelming. And it feels like there's just no way that what they can create can actually be good. It's going to walk them through step by step, get them composing, and then right away playing what they made. It will also get them singing, practicing solfege. It will get them either composing as an individual or as a group, and some ta and titi rhythm listening exercises, because that's something that, yes, they can repeat it, but then can they hear a word and know what to do? Is it dog? Is that a ta or a titi? So there's also going to be those. I think it's best for grades 2 through 4 because they're going to need to know the solfege. And they're going to need to know solfege from low do to, yes, to sol. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. I like to color code them because to me, boom whackers, color coded, bells, color coded. So if I'm doing this, where I'm telling my students find the do, well, they're going to know, okay, do, it's the one on its own special line, and it's also red, like the boom whacker that is for C. All right, then we do re, then we do mi, then we do fa, then we do sol. What's great about this is it's so easy to have this interactive slide where students are coming in and you're giving them the thing that is another fix for them, right? My students all the time, they just want to touch the smartboard. So now they're going to touch the smartboard, but in a way that I want. They're going to be adding the colors to solfege. And they're also going to be going over those rhythm listening exercises that we were just talking about. So after they've added them in, maybe you've sung it on solfege. I wouldn't take too long with this because you do want to get into the actual story of it, singing of it. So then they're going to add in the rhythm. So if I said this, all right, well, that's going to be a ta. Is the nest, that, bill. This is going to be a half note. If you're not talking about half notes with students this young yet, then I always just make it a little bit bigger because then that's another visual cue for my students. Okay, again, we're just adding in those ta TTs and then a cheeky little quarter rest at the end. All right, so they're going to get to play, but they're only going to get to play one part of the story. And that's the part that they're going to be composing for. And again, we want to make this so that students are leaving feeling more confident about it, about their ability to compose, without getting overwhelmed by this now big chance that they have. So you do one together. Each student's going to get an animal. So one of the animals that students aren't going to get is this one, the fledgling, because you're going to do that together as a group. So what's the rhythm of our animal? Fledgling. All right, well, there's actually two different ways we could do this. We could do it as a TT, fledgling, or we can do it as two tas, fledgling. All right, good to talk about students and just maybe that's where you bring in some tempo. All right, step 2, some of the animals have items. So what is the rhythm for their item? If the fledgling has the item nest, well, then let's add a ta. Okay, and then each one has a phrase. And this phrase, students also are going to need to come up with the rhythm for, rumpled and ruffled. So now students are going to do it on their own. And you can do this by having students, you can either print this out or just have it be something that if you have Chromebooks, awesome, then students can do this and they can do it really easily. What I've made for each of these is they can only touch the certain parts of this. So they can touch right here. If you added group members, then they can write in the groups, but that's really one of the only things that they can touch, because that's one of the things that I noticed very easily is that if you allow them to be able to touch a lot of the stuff, well, then a lot of stuff's going to get moved around. So, but for each of these, again, now they're on their own or they're with their group. So dog, all right, that's why we come over, we grab a ta and we drag it on up. String, same thing. It's a ta, we drag it on up. This one is one of the easier ones. So if you have some students that you know might need a little bit of encouraging, a little bit of more step-by-step walkthrough, this is a good one. Give them dog. All right, long and strong. Again, maybe they do a TT for long and then a ta on strong, whichever it is. If then you have instruments like orff instruments, xylophones, metallophones, where they can add pitches, maybe then they can add pitches. So you can, again, drag, well, it's do, so that's its own special line. Okay, that's got to go at the bottom, but then maybe they add a re, maybe they add a mi, whatever it is, they can be touching all of these. All right, let me get rid of those. Each student is going to get their own animal, so horse, dog, straw, whichever, and then you read the story. And the story, this is the nest that Robin built. Not only, here, let me just pull it up on YouTube. I always, is actually a good tip for anyone. If you don't have the physical copy, which I always try to have the physical copy of the book, and so that I'm, making sure that I'm paying respect to the author that made it, whichever, but say your lesson's coming up and you didn't have time to get to the library, you didn't have time to have your school budgeted in, then what's great is this is the nest that Robin built, read aloud. I always pause the video and mute it because I don't want somebody else reading to my students. I want to be the one to control at what speed that comes. I want to be the one to, all right, well, I'm going to stare at this student while I read it because I want to make sure that student's paying attention. I'm going to mitigate my voice and make it quieter if I'm losing their attention, or I'm going to make it louder if I want to get everybody, really psyched for what's coming up. So again, this is the nest that Robin built. Each student is going to have a role to play. And it starts with squirrel, actually. Starts with squirrel, which I have Google Slides for each of these. So again, you'd either be printing them out and giving them to the groups or the individuals, or you would be just having them go on their Chromebooks and you'd put down each different one. So whichever works, it really doesn't matter. Then you might just want to give, if you're doing pitches, colored pencils so that they can see it. So this is the squirrel who trimmed the twigs, not too big, that's that phrase, that anchored the nest that Robin built. So you see where this is going, because with each new animal, the old ones also get to play. So this is the horse who shared the straw, rough and tough, that covered the string, that's the dog, long and strong. That, I can't read that because it's too small. Let me make it bigger. I have these glasses for a reason. That wraps round the twigs, not too big, that anchor the nest that Robin built. So this is where students are playing when they hear their words, straw, string, twigs, and then they play that phrase, rough and tough, long and strong, not too big. And they're using their rhythm or they're using their pitch. Again, this is an easy way to get students composing, but at a speed that will leave them feeling like they did something and like they did something amazing. And it's a great time for you to be able to praise that. Look what you did. All right. So those are 3 of the stories. Again, I'm going to link the other stories for Bringing the Rain to Kapiti Plain. It's another fantastic story, but I think you can use it for some older students. It's not quite as youngish feeling as this one, and you can get them composing or just playing more complex rhythms along with Kapiti Plain. And then the other story was Too Much Noise, which I think you could actually use for younger students, say kindergarten through second grade, because it's smaller phrases, maybe not as much composing, and you really get a great chance to go over some dynamics. Alrighty, so that was the lesson plan and the three stories that I love to bring into my classroom when I'm trying to bring instruments into the elementary room. There are two ways that you can get mine or make your own, which again, just take these stories and make your own, or you can grab mine. And there are two different ways that you can do that, because your next step is to bring these amazing stories into your classroom. You can either do that by joining us for a free month of the Soaring Scarves Academy. It is a free month, so try it out for a month. Take a look at all the different lessons that we have, because we do not just have these three. We actually have a full year's curriculum that is all about creating these impactful and meaningful musical experiences for your students. We also have plenty of movement breaks that are all videoed and step by step to show you how to bring them into your classroom. We also have our scarf dances. We're kind of called the Soaring Scarves Academy, so it's kind of my thing. That is a great way to bring classical music into your classroom. And we also have more pre-recorded professional development, just like this, that is also included with uh, lessons, movement breaks, scarf dances, and a soaring scarf certificate at the end for your professional development hours. Might as well like it, right? After a month, it is $11.99. If you start and go, you know what, this just isn't for me, send us an email. It is no worries. Uh, but yeah, get 1 month free. Why not? Try it. Check out all the resources that we have made for music educators by music educators. All right, those were our top 3 best stories to bring into your classroom to bring instruments in, and to bring instruments in a way that will not be giving you a headache, in a way that will not leave you scared to bring instruments in again. It will leave both your students and yourself feeling empowered to be creating these meaningful musical experiences in the elementary music room. We hope you enjoyed this quick and easy, I guess it's kind of like professional development for the elementary music teacher. Have, I don't know what I was going to say there, but happy playing.